Hello and welcome back to Cars, Cash, and Guns. And today I want to show you something pretty interesting. Here, let me get it. Here it is. This is the Palmetto State Armory Dagger. And today I want to tell you why I think this is one of the best bang for buck firearms for both beginner and advanced firearm owners alike. So let's get into the video. Okay, so what is a PSA Dagger? Well, the Palmetto State Armory Dagger is basically a Gen 3 Glock clone. A couple of years back, Glock's Gen 3 patent went up and a bunch of companies decided to use it, including Palmetto State Armory. But what makes Palmetto State Armory different from the rest is the pricing. This gun comes in at about $380. They have a couple other models, a little high-end model that comes in at about $600, but the base price on this gun is $380. Now, the best part about this isn't just the price, but Palmetto State Armory themselves. They're a company that actually has a lot of sales on their website, and this gun is one of the biggest that they have sales on. So you can pick this up for way lower than $380 if you keep an eye out. But I don't want to just bore you on pricing. Let's actually get into the look and ergonomics of this gun. And here it is right here. So this is the PSA carrying case. Comes in this nice canvas material bag with a little handle and PSA embroidered on the front with the gun right here. So let's open this bad boy up. All right, so to the farthest of my left right here, we have the gun lock. So this you would put through the actual magazine, have it come out the top, and this basically flags your barrel and stops you from being able to fire or have the weapon be loaded as you're carrying it, let's say through an airport, or if you're traveling in a state where that's required. All right. And to my bottom, we have two magazine slots. One of the magazines I have out, and it is a Glock magazine. Now, I'll tell you why in a bit. I actually like the Glock magazines over the P-Mags, and it's honestly maybe mild, but I feel like it's important to say. Let's keep that out. All right. And to the piece of resistance, we have the PSA Dagger. All right, let's move this carrying case real quick. All right, so the first time you look at this gun, you can see some major differences. One being this undercut, which gives an immense different feeling compared to a regular Glock or gun for that matter, because it allows people with bigger hands, or even if you have smaller hands, just to get a firmer grip on this gun. It also has some finger grooves drilled into the trigger guard for a better support when holding the gun, especially, like I said, for people like me with bigger hands. Now, this variant right here is the full size. You can see it right here, Palmetto Dagger, full size S. So this is more akin to something like a Glock 17 because, like I said, I have big hands and I do competition shooting, so the extra barrel length was needed. Now, they do have a compact variant, which is very similar to a 19, and a micro, which is similar to a 26. But we're speaking on this one right now. So the main differences and modifications that this gun comes with from the factory are suppressor high sights, a threaded barrel, of course, the undercut that we talked about, and this beautiful optics cut. Now, be very careful with these optics cut because this right here is a doctor cut. Now, we got this by accident because we didn't completely know much about optics, and doctor cuts aren't bad. They're mainly reserved for cheaper sights. But when you get this, please look for an RMR and get an RMR cut because it allows you to have a wider range of sights and it doesn't cost much more when you actually get it. So please do that. Now, we're talking about this, might as well get into what I was talking about earlier, which has to do with these P-Mags. So let's put the gun aside and let's pick up this Glock mag. Well, actually, let's not pick that up yet. Let's look at the P-Mag. So this P-Mag feels cheap in my opinion, which it really does. Now I get why, because the price of this gun was supposed to be competitive and the magazines were probably one of those things that they had to cheap out on. But like, it sounds cheap, it feels cheap, and it's just not the best. You can't even see how many rounds you have in there. So let's throw this away and let me show you the better option. Glock 17 mags. These just feel way sturdier. They don't really flex. You can actually see your round count, and it just has an overall better feeling compared to the P-Mag. And from now on, I'm holding this in the gun. So after that, I want to show you something pretty interesting, and it's this trigger. Now, the trigger isn't much to write home about, but of course when you see it, you'll be like, that doesn't look like a Glock trigger. Well, it's more akin to a SIG trigger, but Glock triggers are still plug and play into this system. And I kind of feel like we have to figure out what this sounds and feels like. So let's do a quick trigger pull. First, let's make sure the gun is clear, no round down the barrel, none in the magazine. Okay, let's do this. 3, 2, 1. All right, reset. It's not too bad. Feels pretty good, and it's not sloppy. There's not really a lot of play in the trigger. It all feels really firm and good. This magazine release, let's actually put the magazine in. The slide release, sorry, feels smooth, responsive, and the magazine release is very, very nice. No play, doesn't feel like it's moving around a whole bunch, gets the job done when you need it. So let's actually get into taking this thing apart so you can see the internals. So first, pull the slide back about maybe 3 centimeters, and pull down your slide stop, pull your trigger, everything moves forward. Put that down. Now let's get our recoil spring, take that out, and unscrew the front of your threaded barrel. Oop. All right. Now, all you gotta do is lift it up, take out your barrel, and put down your slide. Now, let's get into the internals. So first we wanna take out this mag and look down in here. So really, once you look at it, it's all the same as a Glock. Very similar, not really any major differences. I think the only major difference is this recoil spring area. See, the PSA Dagger's recoil spring is differently sized. So when you try to put the PSA Dagger into something like a Glock, I don't really remember how it works, so I'm not gonna give too much information, but I think it had something to do with the recoil spring, or it was this housing. It just didn't fit right. Something didn't fit. I don't remember what it was. Do your own experimentation to get an understanding, but it's still a completely compatible gun with Glocks. It was just something with that recoil spring that I can't remember. But other than that, triggers are drop-in and usable in this immediately. And basically anything Glock-wise can go into this PSA frame and vice versa. So let's put this gun back together and we can get into my final thoughts about the PSA Dagger. So let's get into that. So for my final thoughts on this gun, I honestly think it's really good, but that doesn't come without some complaints. One of them being the magazines. Like I said before, I don't like the PMags personally. They feel cheap, they feel low quality, and I really suggest upgrading to Glock mags just for a better experience. And 2, the gun is fairly squeaky when you get it out of the box. Mine is oiled because I've shot it a couple times, but when you get this gun, there might be some squeaks that are unbearable, and oiling is necessary to get rid of those. So I would suggest doing that. Other than that, I really do think it's a good base. For the price and the ergonomics and reliability, it's a great starter. And if you want to do things like use suppressors, PSA actually just started offering ship-to-your-door suppressors with only a couple steps needed to get that sorted away. So that's really all to say about this. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing, share it with somebody who likes cars, cash, or guns, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care and have a great rest of your day.